This message has your name on it, even though I can't see it. I don't know if you are sitting in your car right now, hiding for 5 minutes just to breathe before you walk back into a house full of noise. I don't know if you are lying in bed at 2 in the morning with the phone light hitting your face because sleep won't come, because your mind keeps circling the same question over and over. But I know this. Somewhere in your spirit tonight, you have been asking me something. You have been asking, why, God? Why have you kept me here? Why have you kept me waiting? Why have you kept me single, set apart, alone in this season, while it feels like the whole world keeps moving without you? And maybe for some of you listening right now, that word single hits different. Maybe it's not about a relationship at all. Maybe it's about a business you started that has been sitting stalled for years. Maybe it's about a calling you know is on your life, but the door hasn't opened yet. Maybe it's about a job you lost, a move you made in faith that seemed to fall apart the moment you got there. Whatever it is, my child, tonight you are feeling singled out, set apart from everyone whose life seems to be progressing while yours feels frozen in place. I did not forget you. You did not stumble onto this video by accident. You clicked on this because somewhere down in the deepest room of your heart, you already sense there is a reason for this waiting. A secret plan. Something I have not shown the rest of the world the way I am about to show it to you right now, in these next few minutes. This is the part they don't tell you in the quick answers, the surface level advice, the platitudes people throw at you when they don't know what else to say. I am going to show you why I have kept you set apart, why the door stayed closed when you knocked, why the season lasted longer than you thought you could bear, and I am going to show you what I am building on the other side of it. Stay with me, my child. Do not leave this message early, because if you walk away before I finish, you will carry that same open question back into your day, back into your pillow tonight, back into the same 4 walls where you have been asking me, why, for longer than you want to admit. I do not want that for you. Not today. Today I want to close that loop. I want you to leave this message with the answer settled in your spirit, not the shallow answer the world gives you, but the one that comes from the throne, the one that has been written about you since before you were formed in your mother's womb. So before we go any further, I want you to do something with me. Right now, wherever you are, I want you to type the word restored in the comments below. Not because I need to see it, I already know your heart, but because when you type it, something happens in the spirit realm. You are making a declaration. You are telling heaven and telling yourself that you believe restoration is coming even though you cannot see it yet. Type restored right now if you receive this word. Let this be the first step you take out of the waiting room tonight. There is something I have been keeping from you, my child. Something I have been saving to reveal at the right moment in this message, not because I enjoy withholding, but because timing matters to me the way it has always mattered to me throughout every story in my word. I am going to show you exactly why I set you apart, and I am going to prove it to you through 3 lives that walked this exact road before you. Real people, real waiting, real breakthroughs. Keep listening, because when I reveal what I have been holding back, you are going to recognize your own story inside of theirs. Let me start here. You have believed, maybe your whole life, that being set apart means something is wrong with you, that the reason the phone doesn't ring, the reason the answer hasn't come, the reason the door stays shut, is because you are somehow less than, overlooked, forgotten in the back of a crowd too big for anyone to notice you. I need you to hear me clearly on this. That is a lie the enemy has been whispering into the quiet hours of your life, and tonight I am breaking its hold over you. Let me take you to a story. A man named Zacchaeus lived in Jericho. He was a tax collector, which meant almost everyone in that town despised him. He was wealthy, but he was also small in stature, and worse than that, he was small in the eyes of the people around him. When word came that I was passing through the city, a massive crowd gathered. Everybody wanted to see me, but Zacchaeus, because of his height, could not see over the shoulders of the people pressed in around him. He was, in every sense of the word, singled out, set apart from the crowd, overlooked, small, unseen. So what did he do, my child? He ran ahead of the crowd and he climbed up into a sycamore tree just so he could catch a glimpse of me as I passed by. Can you picture that? A grown man, wealthy, respected in his profession but hated by his neighbors, climbing a tree like a child because it was the only way he could see what everyone else was seeing for free. And here is what I want you to understand. When I came to that spot in the road, I did not walk past Zacchaeus. I did not let the crowd swallow him up the way it had swallowed him up his whole life. I stopped. I looked up into that tree, and I called him by name. Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. Out of every person in that crowd, the ones who were tall enough to see, close enough to touch, respected enough to be noticed, I chose the one who was set apart. The one who had been overlooked. The one who had been made to feel small his whole life. This, my child, is what I meant when I said this message has your name on it. Being singled out has never meant being forgotten by me. It has always meant the opposite. It has meant that I am about to do something so specific, so personal, that I had to separate you from the noise of the crowd in order to do it. Zacchaeus could not have received what I had for him if he had stayed pressed into that crowd, comfortable, unnoticed, blending in. It was his separation, his singleness in that moment, that positioned him to be seen by me. So when you ask me why you have been kept single, why you have been set apart from the trajectory everyone else seems to be on, hear this. It is not because I overlooked you. It is because I am about to call your name over the noise of everyone else's life, and I needed you in a place where you could actually hear me say it. I know this is a lot to sit with, my child. I know the ache of watching everyone else's life move forward, while yours feels stuck in the same chapter, month after month, year after year. So before we go further, I want you to hit the like button on this video right now, not for me, but as your own personal agreement with what heaven is speaking over you in this moment. Let that like be your yes. Let it be your amen. Let it be the small physical act that seals the truth you just heard into your spirit. Now I want to take you somewhere tender. I want to tell you about a woman named Marcela. Marcela lived in Des Moines, Iowa, in a small rented house on the edge of town with a kitchen table that doubled as her desk, her filing cabinet, and some nights her prayer altar. For years, and I mean years, my child, not months, Marcela carried an idea for a business inside of her chest like a stone she couldn't put down. She saw it clearly. She could describe it to you in detail if you sat with her for 10 minutes. The name of it, the way it would help people, the exact way it would provide for her family, and become something that outlived her. But every time she tried to move it forward, something stalled. Funding fell through. Partners backed out at the last minute. She would take one step forward and watch 3 doors close behind her. There were nights Marcela sat at that kitchen table with her laptop open to a business plan she had rewritten more times than she could count, and she cried, not loud, dramatic tears, but the quiet kind that leak out when you are too tired to even ask why anymore. She told me, more than once, in the middle of the night, God, if this isn't yours, just let it go. But if it is, please, please move it. She watched friends her age, open businesses with half the vision she had and twice the ease. She watched people with less passion than her get funded in a matter of weeks. And she sat there, set apart, singled out in her own stalled dream, wondering what was wrong with her. I want you to hear what I am about to say, my child, because it applies to you as much as it applied to Marcela. I was not punishing her. I was not ignoring her. I was aligning things she could not see, people who were not ready yet, doors that had not finished forming on the other side, a version of her that needed just a little more refining before the weight of what I was about to release to her would not crush her instead of carry her. And then it happened. 33 days. That's it. 33 days from the night she finally stopped striving and simply said, "God, I trust your timing, even if I don't understand it." Everything shifted. A phone call she wasn't expecting. A connection that had nothing to do with her own networking, nothing to do with her own effort in that moment. A door that opened so suddenly and so completely that Marcela told me later it felt like she had been standing in front of a locked vault for years. And then one day, someone on the other side simply turned the handle from within. Funding came through. The right partner appeared. Someone who had been quietly preparing on his own side of the equation the entire time she had been waiting. Within 33 days, the business that had been stalled for years was not just moving. It was moving with a speed and a favor that Marcela said felt supernatural, because it was. My child, I am not telling you Marcela's story to make you compare your 33 days to her 33 days. Some of you reading this are going to receive your answer in days. Some of you are going to walk a longer road, and that does not mean I love you less or her more. What I want you to receive is this: the stall was never the end of the story. The waiting was never wasted. Every single day that felt like nothing was happening was a day I was aligning something behind the veil that your natural eyes could not see. Do you feel that in your spirit right now? If you do, I want you to comment the number 888 below. Not because it's a magic number, my child, but because 888 in my word carries the picture of new beginnings, of resurrection, of something that was dead being brought back to life on the other side of what looked like an ending. Comment 888 right now if you are claiming that kind of new beginning over your stalled dream, your delayed calling, your waiting season. Now, I need to talk to you about something the enemy has been doing while you've been sitting in this season, because I don't want you leaving this message without seeing it clearly. The enemy cannot stop what I have ordained for your life. He knows that. He has tried and he has failed every single time, throughout every generation, in every story recorded in my word. So instead of trying to stop the promise outright, he does something quieter, something more insidious. He works on your interpretation of the waiting. He wants you to believe that the silence means I have abandoned you. He wants you to believe that the delay means the door is permanently shut, not just temporarily closed. He wants you to look at the calendar, at the years passing, at the birthdays coming and going, at the friends who have what you're praying for, and let bitterness take root where trust should be growing instead. He whispers into your quietest moments, "If God really loved you, this would have happened already." He whispers, "You missed your window. You waited too long. This is just how your life is going to be." I want to tell you plainly, my child, every one of those thoughts is a weapon formed against you, and my word tells you that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. The enemy cannot create anything new. He can only twist what is already true and bend it just enough to make you doubt me. Yes, you have been set apart. Yes, this season has lasted longer than you wanted. But that is not abandonment. That is preparation. The enemy wants you to confuse the two, because if he can get you to believe you've been abandoned, you will stop praying, stop believing, stop declaring, and a heart that stops declaring is a heart that becomes easy to steal a promise from. This is why I need you to keep declaring with me even now. Type "still believing" in the comments if the enemy has tried to convince you that your waiting means I forgot you, and you are choosing today to reject that lie. Type "still believing" and let it be your weapon against every whisper that has tried to make you doubt my timing. Let me take you deeper into my word right now, because I want to give you something to stand on, not just something to feel. In Mark chapter 11, verse 24, I said this, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." My child, read that again slowly. I did not say believe once you see it. I did not say believe after the evidence arrives. I said believe that you have received it, before it shows up in the natural, and it will be yours. This is the posture I have been trying to teach you in this season of being set apart. Marcela did not receive her breakthrough on the day she finally saw the money in her account. She received it in her spirit the night she stopped begging and started believing, the night she said, "I trust you," instead of, "Why haven't you?" The natural manifestation came 33 days later, but the spiritual transaction happened the moment her faith shifted from asking to receiving. I am asking you to make that same shift right now, tonight, in whatever room you are sitting in. Stop asking me to prove that I have not forgotten you. Start believing that I already have not forgotten you, and watch what begins to move in the unseen the moment your heart settles into that truth. I want to widen this out a little more, my child, because I know some of you are not thinking about a business right now. Some of you are thinking about a marriage that never started. Some of you are thinking about a healing that hasn't come. Some of you are thinking about a child who is walking away from everything you raised them to know. Whatever your version of set apart looks like tonight, the principle is the same. The stall is not the sentence. The delay is not the denial. Mark 11:24 applies to every version of your waiting, not just the ones that fit neatly into a testimony video. I want you to share this message right now with one person that comes to your mind as I say this. You already know who it is. Their face came up in your spirit the moment I said it. Don't overthink it. Don't wait until a better time. Share this with them now, because they are sitting in their own version of set apart tonight, and they need to hear what I am telling you. There is something I have been keeping from you still, and I am not ready to reveal it yet. Stay with me. Because the next part of this message is going to take you into a season of waiting that did not resolve in 33 days. A much longer road, a slower unfolding, a story that will show you what I do in the seasons that don't move fast, the seasons that test not your faith for a moment, but your endurance for years. If Marcela's story gave you hope for a quick turnaround, the next story is going to give you something even more valuable, the ability to keep walking when the answer takes its time. Before I take you there, I want to go back to what the thumbnail on this video promised you, because I don't want you to forget why you clicked in the first place. You saw the words, "Why God kept you single," and something in you recognized itself in that phrase, not necessarily about romance, but about that ache of being set apart, overlooked, singled out from the pack, while everyone else's life seems to be assembling itself with ease. And you saw the second phrase, "This is God's secret plan," and something in you thought, finally, maybe someone is going to tell me the truth instead of the platitude. Here is the truth, my child, plain and unhidden. The secret was never that I was punishing you. The secret was never that something is wrong with you. The secret is this: I set apart everyone I am about to use in a significant way. Every person in my word who carried weight, carried influence, carried a calling too large for an ordinary life. Every single one of them went through a season of being set apart before I released them into what I had prepared. Zacchaeus was set apart by his height before he was called by name. Joseph was set apart in a pit and then a prison before he was elevated to a palace. David was set apart tending sheep in obscurity before he was anointed king in front of his own family, who had overlooked him. This is not a punishment pattern, my child. This is a preparation pattern, and you are inside of it right now. Let's keep going, because I have more to show you, and I don't want you to miss what comes next. I want to tell you about the widow, because her story is going to reframe something in you that I think has been sitting heavy for a long time. The fear that you don't have enough to offer, that your faith is too small, that your resources are too limited to matter to me. In Mark chapter 12, I sat down across from the temple treasury, and I watched the people bring their offerings. Many of the wealthy came and threw in large amounts, and I'm sure it made a great sound as those coins hit the metal collection box, a sound that drew attention, a sound that made people turn their heads. And then a poor widow came. She put in 2 small copper coins, worth almost nothing, the smallest denomination available, a sound so quiet that most people in that courtyard probably never even noticed it happened. But I noticed, my child. I called my disciples over and I said to them, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. They gave out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything she had, all she had to live on." I want you to sit with that for a moment. She was, in her own way, set apart too. Set apart by her poverty, set apart by her lack, set apart from the wealthy crowd who could give without feeling it. Nobody in that courtyard would have picked her out as the example of faith that day if I had not pointed her out myself. She looked, by every worldly measure, like the least significant person in that room. And I made her the entire point of the lesson. This is what I want you to understand about your own season of being set apart, my child. You may feel like you have less to offer than everyone around you right now. Less time, less money, less energy, less certainty. But I am not measuring what you have. I am measuring what you are willing to release to me in faith, even when it feels like everything you have. I bring this up now because I want to speak to something practical, something real, something I know some of you have been wrestling with as you've listened to this message. If something in what I've said tonight has shifted something in your spirit, if you feel that stirring, that recognition that this word was for you, I want to invite you to consider sowing a seed of faith using the Super Thanks button below this video. I am not asking you because I need your money, my child. I own the cattle on 1,000 hills. I am asking you because faith that costs you nothing rarely produces breakthrough, and the widow's 2 coins taught you that the size of the gift matters less than the size of the trust behind it. This is not payment. This is not a transaction. It is a declaration that you believe what I am releasing in your life is worth more than what you are giving right now, in this moment, out of whatever you have. I want to be clear with you, my child. You do not have to give anything for me to love you, to move for you, or to finish what I started in you. Nothing about your breakthrough is contingent on a donation, but if there is a nudge in your spirit right now, a small stirring the size of 2 copper coins, I want you to know that nudge did not come from nowhere. Obedience to a small nudge has unlocked entire seasons for my people throughout history. The widow didn't know I was watching. She didn't know her offering would be recorded in a book read by millions of people 2,000 years later. She just gave what she had, in faith, without an audience. That is the posture I am inviting you into tonight, if your spirit is stirring. Now let's keep moving, because I promised you a second story, one that unfolds slower, one that will teach you something the 33-day story could not. Stay with me, my child. Do not close this message yet. What I am about to show you next is going to touch the part of your heart that has been waiting the longest. I want to tell you about a man named Ansel. Ansel lived in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and from the time he was a young man, he carried a calling to ministry that he could not shake, no matter how hard he tried to bury it under other plans. He tried a career in sales for a while. He tried construction. He even tried talking himself out of it altogether, telling himself that maybe he had misheard me. Maybe it was just a phase of youthful idealism that would fade with age and responsibility. But the calling never left. It sat in his chest, like an ember that refused to go cold, no matter how much life tried to smother it with bills, disappointments, and the slow grind of ordinary days. Ansel felt the call to ministry clearly in his 20s. He is telling this story now well into his 30s. Do you understand what I am saying to you, my child? This was not a 33-day wait. This was not even a 33-week wait. Ansel carried this calling through job losses, through a broken engagement that gutted him in ways he still doesn't fully talk about, through years of leading a small home Bible study in his living room because no church would open a door for him to lead anything larger, through nights of asking me the exact question you have been asking me tonight. Why have you set me apart for this, God, if you are never going to release me into it? There were seasons, my child, where Ansel almost quit believing altogether. Not quit his faith in me, but quit believing the calling was real. He would sit in his car in the church parking lot after serving as a volunteer usher for the third Sunday in a row, watching younger men who had been in ministry only a fraction of the time he had already carrying titles, platforms, staff positions. And he would ask, God, what is wrong with me? What did I do to disqualify myself from what you put in my chest 20 years ago? I want to answer that question right now, not just for Ansel, but for you, wherever you are, in your own 20-year wait, your own decade of feeling passed over, while others with less history and less scar tissue seem to move ahead of you. The delay was never disqualification. The delay was depth. I was not preparing Ansel for a platform. I was preparing him for people. I was preparing him for the exact kind of pain he would need to have walked through personally in order to sit across from a broken man one day and not flinch, not offer a cliché, not rush the healing, because he had lived in that same waiting room himself for 20 years. 40 days, my child. 40 days from the moment Ansel stopped asking me to explain the delay and instead asked me to use the delay. 40 days from the prayer where he said, God, if this door never opens the way I pictured it, let my life still count for something in the meantime. Everything began to move. Not all at once, not in one dramatic phone call the way it happened for Marcela. It was gradual. A pastor from a neighboring town reached out after hearing about the home Bible study that had quietly, faithfully, grown from 6 people to over 40. Over the years, Ansel had been just a home group leader. That connection led to an invitation to speak. That invitation led to a series. That series led, over those 40 days, to a formal offer to step into pastoral leadership at a growing congregation that had been praying, on their own side of the equation, for someone with exactly Ansel's story, exactly his scars, exactly his patience. This is what I meant, my child, when I told you at the beginning of this message that this is God's secret plan. The secret was never a formula, a shortcut, a spiritual trick to unlock your breakthrough faster. The secret is this: I was not preparing Marcela and Ansel for the same kind of release. Marcela's assignment needed speed once the alignment was ready, 33 days. Ansel's assignment needed depth, and depth cannot be built in 33 days. It took 20 years of quiet, faithful, unseen ministry in a living room before I could trust him with people whose wounds ran as deep as his own. This is what I meant when I said your singleness, your set-apartness, has your name on it. It is not a generic waiting room. Everyone sits in the same amount of time. It is a custom-built preparation chamber, sized exactly to the weight of what I am about to release through you. Remember what I told you at the start about this secret plan? Here is what it truly means. It means I am not comparing your timeline to anyone else's, and you should stop comparing it too. It means the length of your wait is not a measurement of my love for you or my forgetfulness of you. It is a measurement of the depth of the assignment. The deeper the assignment, the longer and more thorough the preparation. Ansel's 40 days of movement only happened after 20 years of formation. And my child, I want you to hear this clearly. None of those 20 years were wasted. Not one Sunday he served as an usher. Not one living room Bible study with 6 discouraged people. Not one broken engagement he had to grieve. Every single piece of it built the man who could carry what I was about to hand him. I know some of you listening right now are in year 2 of your wait. Some of you are in year 15. Some of you have honestly lost count, because counting the years started to hurt too much a long time ago. I see every single year, my child. Not one of them has escaped my notice. Not one lonely night, not one moment you sat in your car in a parking lot somewhere, wondering if you had misunderstood everything I ever told you about your life. I want you to comment the number 888 again right now, if you needed to hear that your years of waiting are not wasted years. Let this be your second declaration tonight, layered on top of the first. Comment 888, and let it mark this moment as the moment you stopped believing your wait was punishment and started believing it was preparation. There is a peace I want to hand you right now, because I know what the enemy has been doing to your peace during this long season. He has been stirring anxiety in the quiet hours. He has been whispering comparison every time you scroll past someone else's announcement, someone else's engagement, someone else's promotion, someone else's finally moment. He wants your peace shredded by the time your breakthrough arrives, so that even when it comes, you won't be able to fully enjoy it. You'll just be exhausted, suspicious, waiting for the other shoe to drop. I will not let him have your peace, my child. In John chapter 14, verse 27, I said this to my disciples right before I left them, right before they entered their own season of confusion and waiting for what I had promised them. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. Read that again, my child. I did not say I would give you peace once the waiting ends. I said I am leaving my peace with you right now, in the middle of the waiting, before the manifestation, before the 40 days are up, before the 33 days pass, before you even know how the story ends. My peace is not a reward for your patience. It is a gift for your present moment, available to you tonight, whether your answer comes tomorrow or 3 more years from now. This is not the peace the world gives, the peace that comes from certainty, from having all your questions answered, from finally seeing the paycheck, the ring, the title, the healed body. This is a peace that exists before the evidence, a peace that lets you sleep tonight even though nothing outward has changed since this morning, a peace that lets you walk into tomorrow with your shoulders back, not because you know the outcome, but because you know me. I want you to hit the like button again right now, my child, as your agreement that you are receiving my peace tonight, not the world's peace, not the peace of certainty, but the peace that surpasses understanding, settling over your set-apart season like a blanket you didn't know you needed until it was already warm around your shoulders. Now I need to prepare you for something, because the next story I want to tell you is not finished yet. It is still unfolding, even as I speak these words to you tonight, and I want you to understand why I am telling you an unfinished story, instead of waiting until it wraps up neatly like the first 2. Her name is Rosalind. She lives in Springfield, Missouri now, though she didn't always. A little over a year ago, Rosalind and her husband made a decision that felt, at the time, like the clearest leap of faith of their entire marriage. A job offer came through, a good one, a significant increase in salary, a chance to finally get out of the cramped apartment they had outgrown years before, a chance to buy a home in a good school district for their kids. They prayed about it. They felt peace about it. They packed up everything they owned, said goodbye to the church family that had walked with them for a decade, and moved 3 states away to start this new chapter. 4 months later, my child, the company that hired Rosalind's husband went through a restructuring, and he was laid off. 4 months. After uprooting an entire family, after saying every goodbye, after signing a lease in a city where they knew almost no one, The very job that had brought them there was gone. I want you to sit in that with me for a moment, because I know some of you listening right now are living inside a version of this exact story. You did the right thing. You prayed about it. You felt peace. You stepped out in faith exactly the way you thought I was leading you to step out. And then the floor dropped out anyway, and now you are sitting somewhere unfamiliar, disoriented, wondering if you heard me wrong, wondering if this was ever me at all, or if you just wanted it to be me badly enough to convince yourself. Rosalind sat on the floor of her new living room, still surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, and she told me, through tears that came in waves she couldn't control, "God, did I make a mistake? Did I move my whole family for nothing?" She said the silence in that new house felt different from the silence of her old apartment. In the old place, silence felt like peace. In the new place, 3 states from everyone who knew her name, silence felt like abandonment. I am telling you tonight, my child, this story is still unfolding. Rosalind has not yet seen the full resolution. Her husband is applying, interviewing, waiting. Some weeks bring hope, a promising interview, a second-round callback. Other weeks bring nothing but silence and a mortgage payment due on the 15th. She is, right now, tonight, in the same waiting room you are sitting in. And I want you to know why I am choosing to tell you her story before it resolves, instead of waiting until I could hand you a tidy ending with a bow on top. Because your story might be at this exact chapter right now. And I don't want you to think you need a finished testimony before you can trust me. I don't want you to think faith only counts once you can see the ending. Romans chapter 8 verse 28 tells you this, and I need you to receive it tonight the way Rosalind is learning to receive it, in the middle of the unresolved chapter, not after it. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Read it again, my child. Not, we will know, once the story ends. We know, present tense. Right now, in the boxes still half unpacked, in the mortgage payment still due, in the interviews that haven't converted into an offer yet, we know. Not because we can see the good yet with our natural eyes, but because I have never once in the history of anyone who has ever loved me failed to work all things, even the layoffs, even the relocations that seemed to backfire, even the moves that looked like mistakes in month 4, together for good. This is your identity tonight, my child, not the one who moved and got laid off, not the one who has been single for years with no explanation. Your identity is called according to His purpose. That calling does not pause because the circumstances look upside down. That calling does not expire because month 4 looked like failure. Rosalind is still called. Ansel was still called through 20 years of a living room Bible study. Marcela was still called through years of stalled funding. And you, my child, are still called, right now, in whatever unresolved chapter you are living in tonight. I want to bring you back to the third story I promised you at the beginning of this message, the 10 lepers, because I think it will minister to you right where Rosalind's unfinished story leaves you standing. In Luke chapter 17, 10 men with leprosy called out to me from a distance because the law required them to stay separated, set apart from everyone else. Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. I told them to go show themselves to the priests, and as they went, they were healed. But here is the part I want you to sit with, my child. All 10 were healed. All 10 received exactly what they had been waiting for, some of them for years, some of them since childhood, but only one of them turned back. Only one came back praising me in a loud voice, threw himself at my feet, and thanked me. And I asked, were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? I tell you this story tonight because I want you to notice something about the posture of the one who turned back. He did not wait until every single detail of his life was fully restored before he turned around in gratitude. He was still figuring out what his new life looked like. He still had to reintegrate into a community that had kept him at a distance for years. He still had unresolved chapters ahead of him, but he turned back anyway, in the middle of his becoming, and he thanked me before the whole story was finished. This is what I am asking of you tonight, my child. Whether you are in Marcela's 33 days, Ansel's 40 days after 20 years, or Rosalind's still unfolding chapter with boxes not yet unpacked. Turn back to me now. Do not wait for the ending to thank me for the healing already happening in pieces you may not even recognize yet. Rosalind may not see her husband's new job offer yet, but she has already received healing in her marriage through this trial, a depth of trust between her and her husband that 4 months of comfort in the old apartment never could have produced. That is a healing too, even before the paycheck arrives. I want you to comment the words, "Still believing right now, my child," right where you are, in whatever unresolved chapter of your life this finds you in. Let it be your declaration that you, like the one leper who turned back, are choosing gratitude and faith in the middle of the story, not just at the end of it. Someone who sowed a seed of faith last week, in a moment much like this one, told me afterward that within days they felt a shift they could not fully explain, a peace about their own unresolved chapter that had not been there before, a sense that their situation, like Rosalind's, was not abandoned, but actively being worked on behind the scenes. Your seed, my child, if you feel led to sow one right now using the Super Thanks button below, is not going to a person. It is not going to me as though I need it. It is going into the kingdom, into the same economy that is currently working on Rosalind's still unfolding story, into the same unseen movement that turned Marcela's 33 days and Ansel's 20 years into testimonies instead of tragedies. And the kingdom, my child, always multiplies what is sown in faith, even, especially, when it is sown in the middle of an unresolved chapter of your own. You do not have to give anything tonight for me to keep working on your behalf. Nothing about what I am doing for you is contingent on a donation, and I never want you to believe otherwise. But if there is a nudge in your spirit right now, the same kind of nudge the widow felt with her 2 small coins, the same kind of nudge that led that one leper to turn back before he understood the full shape of his new life, I want you to know that nudge is me. And obedience to that nudge has unlocked the next level for my people since the very first pages of my word. I want to speak now directly to what brought you to this message in the first place, because I promised you I would not let you forget it. You clicked because of a promise, that I would tell you why you have been kept single, why you have been set apart, and that I had a secret plan I was finally going to reveal. Here is the full weight of that plan, laid out plainly, so you can carry it with you when this message ends. I set you apart because the crowd could not hold what I am building in you. I set you apart the way I set apart Zacchaeus, calling your name over the noise, instead of letting you dissolve into the anonymous mass of everyone else's timeline. I kept you single, set apart, waiting, singled out, not to punish you, but because Marcela needed 33 days of stillness before the funding could align, because Ansel needed 20 years of a living room before he could shepherd people whose pain matched his own, because Rosalind needed a relocation that looked like a mistake in month 4, so that her marriage could deepen into something month 4 could never have produced on its own. Your set-apart season is not evidence that I forgot you. It is evidence that what I am building through you required a chamber the crowd could never provide. This is the secret plan, my child. Not a formula, not a trick, not a shortcut. A father who loves you enough to build you in private before he reveals you in public. A God who sees your 2 small copper coins and calls it more than the wealthy man's overflowing purse. A Savior who stops the whole procession just to call the name of the one person up in the tree that everybody else overlooked. I want you to comment restored one more time right now, and this time I want you to mean it differently than you meant it at the start of this message. At the beginning, maybe you typed it out of hope, wondering if it applied to you. Now I want you to type it out of knowing, restored, because you now understand your waiting was never wasted. Restored, because Zacchaeus, the widow, and the leper who turned back are all proof that I see the set-apart ones before anyone else does. Restored, because Marcela, Ansel, and Rosalind are proof that whether your breakthrough takes 33 days, 40 days after 20 years, or is still unfolding right now while you read these words, I have never once abandoned the ones I set apart. Before you go, I need you to do a few more things with me, because this message was never meant to just be watched. It was meant to move you. Subscribe to this channel right now, my child, so that when I have another word for you, and I will, because I am not finished speaking to you yet, you do not miss it in the noise of everything else competing for your attention. Tap the notification bell, because there will be nights when you need a word at exactly the moment I send it, and I don't want an algorithm standing between my voice and your need. And if this message shifted something in you tonight, if you felt me speaking directly into the specific ache you carry, whether it's a stalled business like Marcela's, a delayed calling like Ansel's, or an unresolved relocation like Rosalind's, I want to invite you one final time to consider sowing a seed of faith through the Super Thanks button below. Not as payment, not as a transaction, as your declaration, out loud and on the record, that you believe what I am releasing in your life tonight is worth far more than what you are giving right now. Your seed joins the same kingdom economy that has been working, quietly, faithfully, behind every testimony in this message, and it will keep working long after this video ends. Share this message now with the person who came to your mind earlier. You know who it is. You knew the moment I mentioned it, because somewhere tonight, they are sitting in their own set-apart season, wondering if anyone sees them the way I see you. Comment still believing, comment 888, comment restored, use all three if you need to. Layer your declarations on top of each other tonight, because heaven is not counting how many words you use. Heaven is watching whether you believe them. My child, hear me clearly one final time before we close. You did not click on this message by accident. You were singled out tonight, set apart from every other video you could have watched, brought here on purpose, because I had a word only you could receive in exactly this way, at exactly this hour. The secret plan was never hidden from you out of cruelty. It was hidden the way a seed is hidden in soil, not abandoned, but growing, in the dark, toward a light you cannot yet see from where you are standing. Rise now. The waiting room season is over. Not because every circumstance around you has changed in this exact moment. Some of you will walk out of this message into the very same room, the very same bills, the very same silence you walked in with. But something inside of you has changed, and that is where every breakthrough in this message began. Marcela's breakthrough began in her spirit before it appeared in her bank account. Ansel's breakthrough began in a decision to serve faithfully before it appeared in a title. Rosalind's breakthrough is beginning right now, in the middle of her unfinished story, in a level of trust between her and her husband that no comfortable apartment could have produced. Rise now, my child. Stand up from the floor you have been sitting on, whether that floor is literal or only in your spirit. The season of feeling forgotten, overlooked, set apart with no explanation. That season has done its work in you. It has built what it needed to build. And I am calling you, the way I called Zacchaeus down from that tree, by name, out of the crowd of every excuse and every doubt that has kept you small. The waiting room season is over. Walk out of it tonight, into whatever is next, carrying my peace, not the world's peace. Carrying my timing, not your calendar's timing. Carrying the full weight of what it means to have been set apart, not forgotten, not punished, not passed over, but chosen, prepared, and about to be released. This message had your name on it,